Junior troops are actually paid pretty well when compared to their civilian counterparts, according to a new study. The report comes from the 14th Quadrennial Review of Military Compensation commissioned by the DoD, which occurs every 4 years because we know what quadrennial means and didn't have to look it up. In it, they take a look at how the entire military is compensated, even the officers, by looking at what they call the Regular Military Compensation, or RMC. RMC is made up of base pay, basic allowance for subsistence, or BAS, and basic allowance for housing, or BAH. This go round, they determined that the average compensation for an enlisted service member who served for 5 years is about $65,000 a year. When compared to high school educated civilians with 5 years of working experience, they found that that is more than 90% of them. The report also found that officer pay is strongly competitive with their civilian peers. Of course, what this report doesn't consider, because you can't really quantify it, is that we don't typically ask civilian 23-year-olds to deploy to war zones and lead men and women into combat. While it is a little bit hyperbolic, there's also a lot of truth to it, and we often forget how much we do ask of our young servicemen and women. Overall, they determined that military pay is competitive with the civilian market, but more can be done to benefit troops, their families, and even the DoD as a whole. There are a lot of other interesting findings that Patty Nyberg discussed in her story that we can't possibly get to here, so go to taskandpurpose.com to read that if you care about money, but we'll do a quick rundown. One of the more interesting things that they found that if you made childcare free, you could increase retention by up to 14%. They also estimated that decreasing PCS moves, which cost a fucking ton for both the government and the service member having to do it, could increase retention by up to 8%. They also put forward some recommendations on when and how pay raises should be implemented and how BAS and BAH should be calculated. So go to taskandpurpose.com to check this full story out and follow us right here for more news from the military community.